Hi there, so welcome back. I'm going to now build my wheels. So if you want to build your own wheels, I recommend getting a bike stand, a wheel turning stand. My one here is from Park Tool. This is the TS8. It's a pretty good all-rounder. There are cheaper ones and also much more expensive ones. But this does the job. It just uses this touch gauge here to let me know how true I am. You will also need, well, you don't need, but to make things a lot easier, is this kind of screwdriver for driving in the nipples. Makes things a lot faster. At the end, when it's all done, you just want to go around all the spokes to make sure they all have the same tension. It's the TM1 from Park Tool. It's there's lots of different types, so I use this one and it works pretty well. I'm telling you, if all your spokes are in the same tension. I just use this little nipple wrench. This makes things a lot easier on the hands. Okay, so this is my stuff. These are my rims. These are my hubs and my spokes. So, right, let me explain. So the first thing you need to be aware of is your length of your spokes. Now I've already spoke about how to choose that, but you just have to be aware you have to make sure you know which side is which, and that goes by the hub. I'll get my sheet now that I've worked out, but whatever you've worked out, if you've got two different lengths of spoke and two different, depending on which side, you need to figure out which is which, and make sure you're using the right spokes for each side. The way I do that, I always pretend I'm looking at the hub as if it's on the bike, and always have the drive side on the right. For the front, obviously there's nothing here because the drive's in the back and the brake is on the left. So we're going to start that, and then I'll have my spokes for the right, this side, spokes for the left, and this side. Okay, so let's do that now. Okay, so from the sheet that I worked out earlier, my left side is the shorter at the front, and my right side is the longer at the front. So it's actually the opposite in the rear, so I have to be careful here. There's them. I'll show you that. There's only 2mm in the difference in my spokes. So just want to make sure that you have the right ones. Okay, so these are a bit longer. This side. So I'll swap them around. So my longer is on my right side. I want it, and the short is on the left. It's a 32 spoke wheel, so it needs 16 on each side. Okay, don't need that yet. Okay, so now first thing we want to do, always start lacing up the wheels on the side that's going to have the most torque. On the front wheel it's going to be the brake side, and on the rear wheel it's going to be the driven side. If you didn't have disc brakes at the front, it wouldn't matter which side you started with, but on the rear it's always going to be the drive side, so the right hand side. Why? I don't really know why, just this is what I've been told and I've just always done it. Next thing you want to find is the key spoke. Now, to me this isn't very important. The key spoke, this is just to make sure that the actual logo lines up with your valve. So your logo should point towards your valve. So what you do, is you find your logo, find, actually I'll bring you closer so you might be able to see from there. So you find your logo, the center of the logo, find the spoke that's closest to the center of that logo. So probably it's kind of close between these two. I'm gonna go with this one. Nearly went for the wrong spoke. So I'm gonna go with this one. And then count over the amount of crosses you're gonna have. So this is a 3-cross wheel that I'm building. So from here, I'm gonna count 3 holes to the left. So 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna put through like that. Okay. So then after that, every second hole I can put, and every second hole now you can just fill in the rest. Let's make sure you take from the right pile, not the right hand side, I mean the correct pile, for the side that you're on. Okay, so now we have our spokes in, and we have our key spoke in hand. We then need to get the hole in the rim where the key spoke goes. Just keeping that separate from the others. I'll leave that down for a second. Get my rim. Alright, just need to find then our valve hole, which is this one here. It's bigger than the rest. Once you find that, you just simply, we're going to screw in that key spoke into the hole to the left of the valve hole. So I'll do that now. Should have got my nipples out by now. Can't believe I just said that. Okay, so now let's see if we still find this hole and pop this through. Careful not to scrape your rim. Pop this screw and nipple in, obviously the smaller end first. It's just a few turns and that's it. That is your key spoke entered. Okay, so now that I have my key spoke entered, I can now go ahead and enter the rest of my spokes. Now, we want every second hole on the hub, so that translates to every 4th hole on the rim. So be careful when you're putting your rims, your nipples into the rim. If you have deep dish rim, if you get this nipple into the hole and it doesn't come out the front here, it's going to be within your rim, and it is torture to get out. Just put the spoke the whole way through, and don't try to put the nipple into the rim or you'll get it lost. It's not magnetic, so you can't magnet it out. So do that the whole way around, and then we'll go to the next stage. Okay, so that's one side done. We now have to do the other side. So we have one, finding the first key spoke was probably the most important, but now there is a key spoke for this side also. So I should find that, it's pretty important too. So now onto our right side, so if you're different lengths of spokes, make sure you have taken the right pile. So, how do you find the key spoke for this side? First you need to find the key spoke from the other side. So remember we went to the valve. So where the hell the valve is, here we go. So we go to this. This one, this is our key spoke. So what we do then, keep that nut, hold of that. What we can do then, what we need to do is what that hole that key spoke goes into, this one here at the top, we need to find this side, which hole corresponds to that. So you can see the two holes that in either side of that, this top key spoke. You want to pick the one to the right. So if you look here, get your hands in order, you look straight through, it's going to be this one. So I'm going to put my spoke through here and then lace it through. Okay. So where do you put that second key spoke? Well, if you follow the first key spoke up, you just go one to the right of it. Okay, so we're going to just pass it through it, the rim, screw on your nipple. Two turns, and that is it. That is your two key spokes in. Now you just repeat what you did with the other side. You put in the rest, the other 7 spokes for me, 7 spokes through, and then lace them into the right hand side of the spokes that you already have in. Phase 2 done. Let's do that. Okay. Phase 2 complete. Now that we have that done, we'll go on to the next phase. So we're going to go back to the drive side. So this part isn't just as important as you would imagine. We have our key spokes in, so we just have to make sure, before we put these spokes in, we have to make sure that our spokes are spun the right way. So obviously they're going to be spun something like this. So we need to obviously find this is where the valve is. Imagine there's a valve at the bottom. It's important that it's not like that. Because if you imagine it's spun like that and the valve comes up here, this spoke is going to be going like this. This spoke is going like this. It's going to have very little room for the valve, and especially if you have a long valve, it's going to be very hard to get a pump in there to pump it up. So make sure you spin the hub this way. So this spoke is going this way, and this spoke is going this way, going outwards, making more room for your valve. Once you have that orientated correctly, up in the rest of your spokes. This time, first that we went head to shoulders on the inside, we had the studs on the outside. So this time we're going to feed it through from the inside out. Now it doesn't really matter now which one to grab first. Make sure that's orientated correctly. Just going to grab this one, and remember, this is a 3-cross wheel. Whatever you decided originally, we have to go now and stick with that. So for a 3-cross wheel, I'm going to go this way. So I'm on my way here. Okay, but it's important now that when you cross the thirds, if it is a 3-cross, it's important to remember that you go over the first 2. So I'm over. The third, I have to go under. So make sure you don't be afraid to give the big bend if you need to. And then find the hole to allow that to happen. And voila. Now, little tip. If you find it hard to get your spoke up through the rim, simply get your nipple for the spoke that you're not using. even strapping this one. Thread it into the back, just a few threads, and then feed it through. This will stop the nipple getting lost within the rim. Cool, huh? Okay, that's that side done. Stop breaking down instead of like floppy. Just might be worth noting that if you can't get a spoke to reach, don't be afraid to go up with it. It's not that. They're very robust. Remember, we're going to be riding on these things, so they're built to be tough. Yeah, once that's done, do the exact same on the other side. Feed the spokes through, over, under, and lift them up. Okay, so we're gonna go that's the way now, so it's over, under. There you go, put it in here, and continue it around. So that's the last in. However, the unthinkable has happened. Our nipple loosened off one of my spokes and went into the rim. I obviously hadn't got it tightened up enough, and that just makes things a little bit frustrating. This is the bugger here. No, it's not. This one here. So, how am I going to get it out? Well, the magnet's not good because it's made out of brass. Even if it was aluminium, it wouldn't come out. A little trick I learned. And this happened to me more than once before. You need to get a bit of grease. Get a spoke, big dollop on the end. So, get this. Oh no, this is very difficult. Okay, this is even more different than I thought because it's got such a pronounced. It's actually, if I put this up here, it's just going to sit in this area, so I'm not going to actually get it. So, let it roll down to the bottom, tilt over, try to see if you can see it really. It's okay, so that is a right pain, especially in the lazy thing. That is why it's so difficult to get it out. But I'll actually learn something else there while I was doing that. If you look here, you notice because the spokes go left and right, so the holes are more left than right in the other. So if you turn it around, I hear another one in there. There's another one in there. What is going on here, guys? Okay. Whew. Right. So we got them out. Two things I learned. Make sure you tighten them up more when you're putting them in loosely. Secondly, if you can see there on the rim that each spoke is left and right to one another. So this one's here more to the right, this is more to the left, and vice versa. So as you hear it come to the bottom, and you tilt it, so find the one that's lowest and it'll be easy to get out with the grease. It's going to take time, but it will work, as you can see. Just try not to let that happen in the first place. Screw them up one.